According to Xiao's proposal, it was first refined by the 5 master alchemists who had only the fire of Yuanli. So they quickly ignited the flame and nodded slightly to the masters in front of them, expressing gratitude, and graciously dried up. Although it is also the top-ranking alchemy master in the Xianyu Empire, people have seen Zhuofan's anti-natural alchemy after surgery, and then they look ordinary. So many people off the court yawned boredly. Finally, the 5 alchemists were trained in turn. But as a result, it was 3 top grade 5 grade Dan, and 2 top grade 5 grade Dan, both of which did not exceed the 5th grade. In the 3rd round of the competition, the title was already the 5th ranked Dan Jingdan. In the final of the Dan King, it was still the 5th ranked Dan, and obviously there was no possibility of winning. This point, they also understand that if they want to express themselves more, they can be favored by some big families. Yan Fu sneered uncontrollably, and said with a sneer, "Sure enough, my master is right, giving way to this bunch of waste is really a waste of time." With that, Yan Fu squinted at Lu Yizhan next to him, and sneered, "Old man Lu, don't tell me, you who hold the 4th level spirit, beast and fire, and his mother will give me the 5th grade pill. Hey, hey." This time, the old man does not seek to win the position of King Dan. As long as he can win you, the little devil, and is ashamed, he is already satisfied. Lu Yizhan touched his beard, a flash of light flashed in his eyes. Hearing this, Yan Fu seemed to have heard the most funny joke in the world, and laughed out loud, "Ha ha ha. You old man. The defeated general, dare to speak eloquently. Moreover, this time Laozi's beast fire is also stronger than you. What do you use to win Lao Tzu? Alchemy isn't just about the power of fire. Last time, the old man just lost speed, but the alchemy technique, the old man is not inferior to you, little devil." As soon as the words fell, Lu Yizhan shouted to raise the beast fire in his hand, and then poured various herbs into it. Yan Fu sneered with a sneer to see how the old guy was ashamed. Time passed by 1 minute and 1 second, the crimson flame was burning continuously, reflecting Lu Yizhan's suffocated cheeks. Suddenly, Lu Yizhan puffed an arrow straight into the depths of the flame. It was at this moment that the flame exploded violently, and a crimson-red pill flew out drippingly, and he was caught in his hand. Without taking care of the blood stains on the corners of his mouth, Lu Yizhan gasped for a few breaths and looked at Yan Fu, who had been stunned, showing a near-crazy smile, and lifted the panacea to him. "Boy, do you think this is Pinpin?" Yan Fu stared closely at the old man, gritted his teeth, and said nothing. But Xiao has already exclaimed, "Master Lu has made it, and the 6th grade is the best medicine." "What, 6 grades?" At this moment, everyone screamed. "I originally thought that Master Lu was a 5th grade alchemist, but I didn't expect to be able to produce a 6th grade alchemist. This is not even possible for the alchemy master who has just been promoted to a 6th grade alchemist. Is it really because of the relationship between the 4th level spirit, beast, and fire core?" People had no time to guess. Yan Fu had already ignited a blue flame. The burning flame was reflected in his eyes, as if burning in his eyes. Swish swish. Pieces of medicinal materials flew into the fire one after another, constantly refining and fusion. The skill that was as natural as eating and drinking water attracted everyone in the room to praise. Previously, because Zhuo Fan was so prominent, Lu Yizhan and Yan Fu were all shrouded in his light. It is only now that people have discovered that although this young man's talent is not as abnormal as Zhuo Fan, he is also an absolute alchemy genius. Really worthy of the alchemy master coming out of the Palace of Medicine King. People sighed. Puff. Suddenly, Yan Fu bit his tongue and spurted out his blood, sprinkled in the flame. It instantly melted with the blue flame. Seeing this scene, Lu Yizhan couldn't help shrinking his eyes. Some weak bodies shivered unconsciously. His lips wriggled for a long time, but he couldn't say a word. Only eyes were filled with surprise called out. The flame was extinguished, and a pill with blue light flashed out instantly. He was caught in his hand and slowly raised to Lu Yizhen. Yan Fu's mouth was stained with blood, and his face was pale, showing a rather infiltrating smile. Old man, what do you think of my pill? With a deep glance at him, Lu Yizhen shook his head helplessly, without saying a word. His face was endlessly lonely. Seeing this, Yan Fu laughed out loud. Xiao hurried to the front, looked down. Could not help but exclaimed Sun Yan Fu, refining Kipin Xiapin Dan Wat, 7th grade. This time, the crowd was completely boiling. Kipin Alchemy Master. In addition to the poisonous hand medicine Wang Yansong, Yao Wang Jian even has a young medicine king. Tao Daniang was watching, but she couldn't help but slap. Are these two guys crazy? Knowing that there is a poisonous hand medicine king, it is impossible to get the position of the king, and still work hard to refine the pill. How much hatred do you have to be so crazy? It is important to know that a drop of effort has been lost, but the vitality has been seriously injured, and it may not be able to fully recover for several years. If the reconditioning is not good, it may result in lifelong damage, or even cultivate forever. Therefore, the alchemy master will never work hard to elixir before the critical moment. Poison Hand Medicine King is at a critical juncture that is about to be eliminated. What kind of twists have you two made? Tao Daniang scolded inwardly, but hesitated on the other. She is a 6th grade alchemist, and originally won these two guys steadily, but who knows which two guys don't know which rib is wrong. All of them have worked hard to alchemy. And Yan Fu has instantly become the 7th grade alchemist. If she didn't bleed this time, she might have been won by Yan Fu. Where did she leave her old face? So as soon as he gritted his teeth and stomped his feet, Tao Dan Niang's eyes flashed a fierce color, and the emerald green flame bloomed in his hand. The old lady became famous many years earlier than you don't know. Is it hard to beat you two? Pieces of medicinal materials were thrown into the fire without interruption. Finally, at the moment of fast dancheng, Tao Danian also bit her tongue fiercely, and a blood arrow spewed out. When the flame went out, Tao Daniang was weak and took the elixir in her hand and showed them to them, showing a satisfied smile. Oh my god, this is the 7th grade Zhongpin Lingdan. Xiao's exclamation sounded again. And everyone also boiled again. Only Yan Fu and Lu Yizhen looked at each other, and then to Tao Daniang, all in doubt. Old lady. The two of us settled the grievances that occurred at the imperial capital. What are you doing together? Well, Tao Daniang was staggering, almost breathless. But looking at the dubious eyes of the two, but his face turned red, he pretended to calmly anger and said, the old body is to let you know, there are mountains outside. There are people outside. The alchemy of your two, it is still a long way off, and there is no need to struggle for a win or loss to the present. To take a long-term perspective, you have many opponents in the future. After saying this, Tao Daniang took a sigh of relief. If she was so educated, she finally recovered her face. However, the two didn't appreciate it at all. Old lady, the two of us are willing to struggle, and we are willing to divide the outcome. What is your business? Yan Fu raised his eyebrows, some inexplicably said. There are mountains outside the mountains, there are people outside, we don't know this truth. Isn't my master and that kid both? This is still for you. Lu Yizhen on the side also nodded slightly. Here are two live examples. Need you to teach us. Tao Daniang couldn't help but linger for a long time, but she was silently refuted. Looking at the inexplicable eyes of the two, Tao Daniang really wanted to kick them. If it were not for the two of them to fight each other fiercely, they both worked hard to make alchemy. Does the old lady need to work hard to maintain her face? Afterwards, the old lady looked for a step and didn't give it to the old lady. These two were really not a thing. Besides, the person who is Yan Fu's imperial palace is not a thing. Lu Yizhen is so old, How can you not give a face to the old body? Tao Dan Nyang's heart was dark, and she gritted her teeth. However, people have long ignored her. At this moment, everyone's eyes turned to the Poison Hand Medicine King. Because everyone knows that this final Dan Wang final is talking about 10 players competing for Dan, but in fact the final victory and defeat is only decided by the two. His eyes squinted unconsciously, a dignified color rarely appeared in the eyes of Poison Hand Potion King, and the eyes that stared closely at Zhuofen seemed to have flames burning cool. With an evil laugh, Guling's Henian appeared again in his hands. Immediately afterwards, without rushing to put medicinal materials, the Poison Hand Medicine King spewed out his efforts again from the beginning. Master, don't. Yan Fu was anxious and couldn't help shouting. He knew in his heart that the Poison Hand Medicine King had already worked the alchemy once in the third round. But this time it is used again, that is, the injury is added. It may leave a hidden danger for life, and it is more likely to be exhausted and killed. However, the Poison Hand Medicine King has long been so much. Why is it rare to have an opponent in life? In order to defeat Zhuofen, his biggest opponent in his life, he must go all out, even if he loses his life. The pupils of the eyes didn't feel a moment of condensate. And the medicine of the Poisonous Hand Medicine King flew inward one by one. Under the refinement of that bone spirit, it instantly turned into a liquid medicine, slowly mixing with his hard work. Puff. Suddenly, the king of Poisonous Hand Medicine once again spit out his efforts. This time, not only Yan Fu, but even Tao Danyang couldn't help shaking her eyelids, and she was shocked. Is this old guy crazy? Refining in this way, although it can greatly improve the quality of immortality, it will definitely endanger life. However, the Poison Hand Medicine King has been unable to take care of that much, and there is only endless madness in his eyes at this time. Yan Fu fell to his knees weakly. Looking in the direction of the Poison Hand Medicine King, 2 lines of tears were pouring down. Master, what's wrong with you today? Ah. At this moment, Zhuofen, who kept his eyes closed and recuperating, finally opened his eyes and turned to look at the Poison Hand Medicine King, his eyes calm. But when I saw Zhuofen, the Poison Hand Medicine King seemed more excited, cool. The blazing flames reflected the pale and bloodless face of the Poisonous Hand King. He was originally imposing. But at this time he was like a weak old man in the wind and candles, shaking his body on the 10th alchemy platform, as if it would fall down in the next moment. However, he still gritted his teeth and stood firm. Looking at Zhuofen's gaze from the first alchemy platform far away, the Poison Hand Potion King grinned and a flash of excitement flashed in his eyes again. Seemingly provocative to Zhuofen, the Poison Hand Medicine King took a deep breath, the seal in his hand changed greatly, and the flames burned even more. In the case of spending 3 hard efforts today, the unreserved output of Yuanli has obviously made him a little collapsed. Doda's sweat beads slowly oozed from his forehead. Not only his complexion, but even his hands quickly became pale and decayed. But his eyes were still shimmering, staring closely at the pill that gradually formed in the flame. Seeing this scene, even the women of Chu Qingcheng who hated this old guy into the bone marrow did not feel that there was a faint heart in their hearts. Although the old man of the Poisonous Hand Medicine King is not a good person, but his attachment to the panacea is really admirable. It is indeed the name of the first alchemist of Xianyu. Long Jiu sighed, his face rarely exposed the color of respect. Others heard it and nodded slightly. Looking at the Poison Hand Medicine King is full of admiration. Even if you are in an opposite position, knowing heroes and heroes, even if they are enemies, has some respects. Guling Zhenyan is worthy of the spirit of heaven and earth. And in the hands of an alchemy master like the Poison Hand Medicine King, but at the moment, the elixir has already condensed into an elixir. In the burning of flames, prepare for Dan. However, at this moment, the Poison Hand Medicine King is spitting out again. Puff. But as the arrow shot into the fire, people's hearts tightened again. At this moment, a buzzing noise was heard. And the burning bone spirit burst into flames. At the same time, a strange elixir with a white streamer, as if alive, flew into the air with a laugh. Listening to the laughter. It is exactly the same as the spirit body in Guling's mantra. He is the king of poisonous hand medicine. It really endows the spirit of immortality. Eye pupils couldn't help shrinking. And Long Jiu exclaimed. The rest of the people looked at Danmaru, who was flying in the air with horror, dumbfounded. Although the heaven and earth spirit fire can indeed impart spirituality to the elixir and enhance the quality of elixir, but not every alchemist can do it. They have been in Xianyu for more than 1,000 years, and it is not that no alchemist has received the spirit fire of the world, but no one can make a living elixir. And this rumor was also returned from abroad. But for more than 1,000 years, alchemists who can do this are rare, and even looking at the entire continent, it is not even possible to produce such a genius in 500 years. But now, the poison hand medicine king has actually done it. Once Zhuo Fan's dazzling light. People soon forgot this true master of the first alchemy in Xianyu. But now, he is using strength to prove that he is still the strongest alchemist in Xianyu. Stretching out his hand, he brought Nadan Pil into his hand, and the poisonous hand king Wang Kanglu's hair was dancing without a wind, slowly showing Nadan Pil to Zhuofan's position. And there was once again an indomitable domineering in his eyes. Although his figure was too weak, at this moment, people felt that this crumbling old man was so tall and magnificent. This is, Xiaoya looked closely, her mouth opened and closed, and she closed and opened, but she was stuttered and speechless, and she finally puzzled her face strange. This panacea obviously surpassed the Kipin best, but it seems that it has not reached the 8th grade. What is going on? His eyes narrowed slightly, and the poison hand potion king did not answer. Just a pair of bright old eyes, staring closely at Zhuofan's position. Obviously, this is declaring war. Can't help laughing, Zhuofan said lightly. This elixir is still the 7th grade. But it is the most perfect elixir in the 7th grade. If you have to define it, it is a super grade pill. But the path to alchemy, the most difficult to refine, is the perfect pill. So although it is a 7th grade product, its value is by no means comparable to that of an ordinary 8th grade pill. Everyone was shocked by this remark. Actually, there is also Kapindan beyond Bapindan, and this is the first time they have heard this kind of remark. Even some low-level alchemists were stunned instantly. But only those alchemists with more than 5 grades can fully understand the reason. In fact, the master alchemy master who can make a 5-piece panacea 100% already feels that it is above the best. And there is still room for improvement. But in the end, even if they became the 6th grade alchemist, they still couldn't feel the perfect knock on the door. So Liupin Dan is easy to refine. But Wupin Cheopin is definitely not so easy to refine. In their view, the refinement of Cheopindan can be said to be a talent above talent. Those who can become high-level alchemists must be geniuses. But those who can refine Super Pindan are definitely geniuses among geniuses. Obviously, the poison hand medicine king is such a character. For a time, people looked at the poison hand medicine king's eyes more respectfully. But the poison hand medicine king didn't care about this, because there was only one person in his eyes. And only that one person was worthy to let him spare his life and compete with him. Following his gaze, people naturally looked at Zhuofan. It was also clear to everyone that the poison hand medicine king was so generous in refining this super Pindan that it was to defeat this unprecedented strongest opponent. Suddenly, people also stared closely at Zhuofan to see how he responded. The battle between the dragon and the tiger, the pinnacle of the two top alchemists, is not easy to see. Maybe after today, there is no such opportunity, so people's hearts are more tense and excited. Taking a deep breath, Zhuo fell silent, thinking quietly. People did not dare to disturb him. The whole venue was silent, but everyone's mind was always tightly attached to Zhuo, and there was no time to ignore any movements around him. His face became more and more gloomy, and the killing intention in Huangpu Qingyan's eyes became stronger. The more Zhuo can gather everyone's hearts in a short period of time, the more he will invisibly challenge his royal power, and the more he will make him feel a deep threat. From the bottom of his heart, the more he regards Zhuo as an opponent that must be removed. Long Jiu and others, frowning deeply, stared closely at Zhuo's figure to see how he responded. Chu Qingcheng and others in Huaiyu building were also nervous. But the strange thing is that they don't have much resentment between Huaiyu Lao and Yao Wangdian in their hearts at this time. But they are simply concerned about how Zhuo will deal with the challenge of the poisonous hand medicine king. That's right, in an atmosphere where the air is almost condensed. People seem to have forgotten that this is a competition for competing against Pil, but only focus on the most alchemy matchup of the two top alchemists. It doesn't matter who wins them, because people are just enjoying the unparalleled shock that the two masters brought to them. After thinking about it for a moment, Zhuo exhaled for a long time, and raised a mysterious arc at the corner of his mouth. It turns out so, then try it. With a light laughter, Zhuo turned to the direction of the poisonous hand medicine king again, saying lightly, "A person who makes 5 efforts at a time will need to die. You old man is making a pill today, and even spitting 4, it is quite hard. If I do and take out some housekeeping skills, I seem to be sorry for you." Of course the poison hand medicine king's mouth twitched, without any fear, even a little bit excited. Can see the strongest opponent in his life to fight with all his strength. As a generation of King Dan, he is nothing more happy than this. Seemingly seeing the excitement in his heart, Zhuo chuckled and came to Danlu. As he moved, everyone's eyes and hearts also moved. At this moment, Zhuo is already the focus of the audience. His every move is concerned about everyone's mind. Without rushing to ignite the alchemy, Zhuo first flicked his fingers, and dozens of spirit stones flew around the Dan furnace, orderly arranged into a strange pattern. When everyone saw this, they couldn't help but stunned and looked at each other. It was all unknown. What is Master Song doing? Set up. But what does this alchemy have to do with the formation? It is not just the audience that didn't understand that. Even the poison hand medicine king and those alchemy masters were all confused. Since ancient times, there has been no intersection between formation and alchemy. What does he mean? Ignoring everyone's doubts, Zhuo made a dozen tricks in his hand and silently said in his mouth, "The Xianmen gate opened for me, and the quartet of creatures came in. Help me to open the spirit of Xianian." As soon as the voice fell, the world shook, and the entire Huaiyu church began to shake inexplicably. Everyone was shocked and wondered what was going on. At this moment, accompanied by a grotesque weird laughter, gray shadows came from all directions, hovering above Zhuo's head. Then a fierce man, all plunged into the center of the array. At the next moment, but listening to the sound of a clear dragon chant, a series of dragon shadows suddenly emerged from the center of the far, flying over the sky. It made everyone present stunned. When the trembling of the earth and earth stopped and all the gray things disappeared, 9 dragon shadows were already flying in the air. Zhuo's fingers flicked, and the blue flame ignited again. Then he flicked his hand and threw Qingyan into the alchemy furnace. It was at this moment that the 9 dragon shadows seemed to have hit Chicken's blood, flew a half circle in excitement, and then suddenly planted into the furnace. Suddenly, but at the sound of a higher dragon sound, a burning fire dragon suddenly flew out of the furnace and flew into the sky. Then, the remaining 8 fire dragons flew out one after another. At this moment, the king iron inside the furnace has disappeared, and it seems to have been completely absorbed by the 9 dragon shadows. The eye pupil flashed, Zhuo Fan's mouth curled, and his hands waved. In an instant, hundreds of medicinal herbs flew into the air. Peel array secret technique, Jiulong homing, Zhuo Fan shouted. And the 9 fire dragons chanted in unison, slamming into the medicine flying into the air, boom. The loud noise that shook the world echoed in the ears of the people. And the people's eardrums were shocked. The dazzling firelight punctured everyone's eyes. When the light dissipated, the 9 dragons separated again, but the herbs in the air were long gone. But as long as people look closely, they can see that the 9 fire dragons have changed a little bit compared with the previous ones. Among their dragon bodies composed of king iron, it can be clearly seen that there is an extra clear blood vein flowing through the whole body, but not so much as blood. People have long seen that it is the liquid medicine that has just been refined from those medicinal materials. It turned out to be instant refining. Everyone was shocked. And Zhuo Fan's gaze was even more shocking. If it is said that Zhuo Fan used Zhuo Xianlong Yunclaw to refine chemical liquid, it is after all Sanpindan medicine, but only dozens of them. But no. Zhuo Fan has refined at least Kapindan, which has reached hundreds of varieties. Such high-level medicinal materials can be instantly refined. Which shows that Zhuo Fan's first-hand alchemy is indeed incredible. At this point, even the king of poisonous pills had to admit that he could not catch up. Otherwise, he would not regard Zhuo Fan, the kid who forged his bones, as the biggest opponent in his life. But this is not what people are most surprised, people are most amazed. And what makes the Poison Hand Medicine King and other high-level alchemy masters shocked inexplicably is that the blood veins of these 9 fire dragons appear 9 different colors. Obviously. Just at the same time when refining the chemical liquid, Zhuo Fan also separated the different chemical liquids by the way. You should know that refining medicinal materials into medicinal liquids seems simple, but the control of medicinal materials and the precise control of firepower are extremely demanding. Once the firepower is too fierce, the medicinal materials must be reduced to gray smoke. But the firepower is too weak, and the medicinal materials are difficult to refine. For the alchemist, the difficulty in controlling it is like taking another step for each product. Therefore, many alchemy masters have been unable to advance from the low level to the high level. And a large part of them are blocked by the refining of this high-level medicinal material. Zhuo Fan's instant refining of medicinal materials, the precise control he needs, is even more difficult. Even the king of poisonous hand medicine can't do it. However, Zhuo Fan not only did it, but also challenged another alchemy technique with more precise control. He divided hundreds of medicinal materials into 9 different parts instantly. That's right, this is something that even the Poison Hand Medicine King dare not think about. Some medicines, especially poisonous medicines, really need to classify various medicines first, and then refine them in order. Even the poison palm of their Medicine King's palace is so refined. Therefore, when refining, we must be more cautious. Each kind of liquid medicine must be refined separately. Otherwise, if there is any leakage, even if a little impurity is mixed in the liquid medicine, it will be discarded. However, Zhuo Fan made 9 liquid medicines in a single breath. With such control, the average person may not realize it, but his poisonous medicine king is already terrified. How can there be such a wonderful alchemy in the world, and how can there be such a strange genius alchemist called a long breath of turbid breath, as the Poison Hand Medicine King expected? This step was indeed the most difficult step in the entire alchemy process. Even Zhuo Fan had to concentrate on refining until his expression was completed. Relaxed. Xiaoya, who is very observant, had previously understood that Zhuo Fan was at a critical juncture and did not dare to disturb, but now he looked at him with ease and could not help but ask, Master Song, I don't know what secret method you just had, so shocking. Hehe. This is the Naden formation, it's just a small formation to assist alchemy. Zhuo Fan couldn't help laughing. Turned his head to look at the direction of the poisonous hand medicine king, and seemed to say to everyone, and it seemed to be provoking the poisonous hand medicine king, saying lightly, high-level medicine, if you want to achieve super quality, you must give spiritual spirits. It is a method to give spirituality in the spirit fire of heaven and earth by one's own efforts. But it is too desperate. If every alchemist does this, every time he practices the alchemy, he must die 9 lives. That's really unwise. His eyelids shook unconsciously. And the poison hand potion king could clearly hear it. This kid was teaching him in disguise, just like an elder teaching a junior, which made him secretly angry. But Zhuo Fan's remarks are indeed reasonable. Had he not competed with him today, the king of poisonous hand medicine would not have been so desperate. So Master Song, are you also enlightening? Xiao asked, looking at the 9 fire dragons in the air. Nodding slightly, Zhuo Fan raised a confident arc at the corner of his mouth. Future is originally to give the spirit of heaven and earth to the panacea. The spirit fire of heaven and earth is one of the sources of spirituality, but it is not all. In fact, mountains, rivers, and the sky of the earth are all there is spirituality. The spirit body in the spirit fire of heaven and earth is just the manifestation of the earth spirit body after thousands of years. As long as they can be let out, they can be given spirit. Can it be? The grey thing just now is the spirit of the mountains and the earth. Yes, there are spiritual deposits around us. But it's just not long enough, and we haven't opened spiritual wisdom. Especially the location of the Emperor Kiksha's home is very particular about the location and is a place full of spirits. Such a place, more spirits have been born, but most people cannot find them. With a chuckle, Zhuo Fan pointed at the formation in front of him. The Gule Dan formation was originally a family. But as the martial arts were divided, the Dan formation parted ways, so that many ancient formations were lost. And this formation I have today, it is the ancient formation of the dragon formation, which can bring the surrounding spirits into the dragon spirit. Although it is not a real dragon spirit body, it also barely carries a bit of dragon spirit power. It is definitely not more than the world that has appeared for thousands of years. The spirit of the spirit fire is poor. As soon as this remark came out, everyone was shocked again. Especially those alchemy masters who looked at Zhuo Fan's eyes were full of reverence. Even when they were in the classical books, they had never seen this technique, and they had never heard of it. Unexpectedly, this Master Song not only understood so thoroughly and learned a lot, but also firmly mastered this alchemy, in addition to the various secret techniques he showed earlier. Let alone Xianyu, even if the entire continent is estimated that no one can surpass him in alchemy. There is no doubt that a generation of alchemy masters. At this point, the poison hand medicine king is also clear in his heart. But he still had a glimmer of hope, even though he had already lost to this younger generation in alchemy. But his cultivation was beyond Zhuo Fan's, and he still had the possibility of winning the final alchemy. Seemingly seeing what he was thinking in his heart, Zhuo Fan chuckled. A flash of light flashed in his eyes, and printed a tactic in his hand again. In an instant, the 9 fire dragons roared again, and the 9 dragon tails threw them fiercely into the boom. There was another blast of thunder, and the 9 dragon tails were thrown together, and they suddenly fell apart, breaking off the dragon body and turning it into a blaze of flames. The next moment, but listening to the sound of 9 dragons chanting again, 9 little dragons rushed out of the flames. It's just that the blood on the little dragon has turned into the same color, blue stream. The pupil of the eye couldn't help shrinking, and the insider had already discovered that at this moment, Zhuo Fan had refined the 9 kinds of liquid medicine into one in order. It was actually refining in an instant. At such a critical moment, The most sophisticated work of control is completed in a blink of an eye. This couldn't help making those alchemy masters chew violently. Master Song, even if alchemy is above us, you can't exceed us so much. Such a difficult step. You have practiced it so easily every time, don't you hit us hard. Even if you give us a face, even if you stop for a second, okay. Many alchemists were bitter in their hearts. Looking at the strange alchemy technique, they were both envious and jealous. Roar! There was another loud roar. And then the 9 fire dragons with broken dragon tails rushed towards the center again. This time, it was the leader boom. As usual, the 9 faucets collided together. Instantly submerged in the flames, and disappeared completely. But at the next moment, 9 dragons emerged from the sea of fire again. Like the previous 9 dragons. There was a completely refined blue liquid medicine flowing inside the dragon body. By this time, the 18 dragons roared and roared in the sky, making everyone dazzled. Hehe. It's time to finish. Eyes did not feel narrowed, Zhuo Fan murmured. The light flashed in his hand, a small porcelain bottle suddenly appeared in his hand, gently opened the stopper. A very strong breath of life instantly filled the audience. Bodhi jade liquid. The pupils of the eyes couldn't stop shaking. Some insightful alchemy masters. Kiki looked to Zhuo Fan's side. His eyes were shocked and suspicious. They all understand that the Bodhi jade liquid is the treasure of Huayu building. How could it appear in the hands of this Master Song? Is it said that he is Huayu building? Thinking of this, people seem to understand what. But I was also surprised in my heart. Where did Huayu Lao find Master Alchemist who was so amazing? When this competition came down, it was a slap in the face of Yaowang Palace. Moreover, the pattern of the Xianyu alchemy world will also change in the future. And the Yaowang Palace will no longer be the leader of the alchemy world. This change is of great significance. Everyone knows that the Palace of Medicine King provides the panacea for the royal family. If their alchemy is no longer the first of Xianyu, would the royal family rely on them? At this moment, everyone seemed to smell something else. This Beiyu Grand event was held in this Huayu Tower, which was clearly a demonstration to the Yaowang Palace and a counterattack to the Yaowang Palace. But where did they know that just a moment ago, Huayu Tower was almost forced to die by the poison hand Medicine King alone? And Zhuofan. It is not their Huayu Lao who deliberately invited to deal with the alchemy master of the Yaowangdian. However, at this moment, everyone can think of things, they will not think of Huayu Lao. Looking at each other, the landlord of Peony and the landlord of Blue and White revealed an inexplicable smile. Like everyone thought, although Zhuo Fan was not the one they invited back. Zhuo Fan was also the son-in-law of their Huayu Tower. In the future, Zhuo Fan sits in town, and it is indeed a great shock to the Palace of Medicine King. Chu Qingcheng is also the same kind of thought, secretly concealed in his heart. When he was hit by mistake, it was really a bargain. But Zhuofan never thought about it that way. He was just doing what he should do. Dust returns to dust, soil returns to earth. Longyinayu liquefaction Lingden with a loud cry, Zhuo Fan raised his hand violently. And 18 drops of Bodhi jade liquid shot into the air. The 18 dragons, like wild cats smelling fishy fish, rushed towards the jade liquid. With a grunt, he swallowed the jade liquid into his mouth. Roar! There was another earth-shattering dragon yin. The 18 dragons roared one after another. Then they started with the dragon head. Gradually disappeared with the body's green inflammation, and finally turned into a group of blue fireballs. Immediately afterwards, the fire light dissipated, revealing the blue Danmaru with bursts of light inside. Dao Dangxiang couldn't stop emitting, so that the whole audience went up and down, just smelled the fragrance, and then he was full of energy. This is what kind of magic elixir, it has such a magical effect. Everyone was surprised, staring closely at the 18 pill pills flying in the air. And those pill balls. As if they hadn't completely taken off the dragon's nature, still screamed the dragon chant while flying in the sky. Obviously, these 18 pills have already become spiritual. What's even more amazing is that the poison hand medicine king only refined one, but Zhuo Fan instantly refined 18 as soon as he shot. These skills surprised everyone in the room. This is how many times it has surpassed the poison hand medicine king in alchemy, so that such a big gap can be shown. At this moment, there is no need to judge and announce anything. People already know it. This time Zhuo Fan still wins. And compared to the first 3 rounds, this round of winning is more thorough, it is simply a crushing victory.